Welcome back to Practice English Studio, podcast edition. We're grateful to have you as part of our community. Okay, let's unpack this. We are doing a deep dive today into one of the most persistent and frustrating challenges for anyone learning a language. And that is small talk.
The dreaded small talk, yes.
It sounds so simple, right? Just,
Yeah.
a few words about the weather or how your weekend was. But I think for a lot of you listening, especially if you're working hard to master English at that, say, A2 or B1 level, it can feel less like a chat.
And more like a test.
Exactly. A high-pressure oral exam that you didn't prepare for.
It absolutely can feel that way, and that anxiety is so real. I mean, we've all been there. You walk into a room, maybe it's work, maybe it's a party. You see someone you need to talk to or want to talk to.
And the moment comes.
Yeah, the crucial moment. You open your mouth, you're trying to find that perfect, grammatically correct sentence in your head, and then just nothing.
Yeah, the blank screen.
Total silence. That feeling of dead air when your brain just completely freezes and all that vocabulary you learn just disappears.
That dead air, that's the core problem, isn't it? And that pressure, it makes us retreat into silence, or maybe even worse, into this really formal language that just sounds...
Weird. It sounds robotic.
Yeah, totally weird.
So our whole mission today is to completely reframe this entire experience for you. Small talk is not a scary test of your grammar. Think of it less like an obstacle you have to get around and more like an essential tool. It's your conversational superpower.
A superpower. I like that.
It really is. It's the most effective, low-stakes way to establish a connection, to show that you're friendly. It's how you build bridges. It's how you make friends, how you network.
Or just get through the day in a friendly way.
Exactly. And we're going to keep the language really clear and accessible today, right in that E2B1 sweet spot.
Right. So the goal is to pull out all these practical, useful tips you need to stop using those formal textbook phrases and just start sounding natural immediately.
And the first most important takeaway, I think, and this underpins everything else, is that your priority is just to be friendly.
Not perfect.
Not perfect. Never perfect. If you communicate clearly, you win. So to start breaking down that fear, we have to tackle the most common scenario there is.
The greeting.
Yeah.
The absolute first hurdle. We've all been here. You see a friend, a colleague, maybe someone you barely know, in the hallway or the break room. You make eye contact. What if he says?
Hello, how are you?
And here it comes.
This is where it happens. This is the immediate, predictable, and just totally unnatural textbook mistake that so many learners make. And it's not their fault. It's what they were taught.
Right. The grammar is perfect, but the feeling is all wrong. And that leads to the one response that brings the whole conversation to a screeching halt. The dreaded.
I'm fine, thank you, and you.
Even just hearing it said like that, it sounds so stiff.
It's completely unnatural, isn't it? In a modern, casual conversation, especially in the US or the UK, if you use those exact words, I mean, a native speaker might genuinely stop and wonder if they've stepped into a time machine.
Like a 19th century novel or something.
Exactly. It's just, it's antiquated. There's a rigidity to it that just screams, I am reading a script.
It's a conversational wall, really. When you say, I am fine, thank you, it gives the other person nothing. No room for a follow-up, no depth. It's like you're saying, my well-being is acceptable, the topic is now closed.
And that's where the language of friendship really diverges from the language of, pure formality.
Yeah.
If you want connection, you have to lower the formality and you have to use casual alternatives.
So what are those? What are the essential casual phrases we need to swap in right now to sound more natural?
Okay, the immediate go-to is always shorter, more positive, and more direct. So instead of that long formal sentence, you go for something like, I'm good, thanks.
I'm good, thanks. Simple.
So efficient and friendly. And notice the contraction I'm instead of I am. That right there is key to sounding natural.
What's another one?
Another great one, and this one signals a really relaxed vibe, is not too bad. How about you?
Okay, let's pause on that one. Not too bad.
Huh.
I think we need to break that down because for a learner, that might sound negative, like things aren't good.
That is such a great point. It's a perfect example of British and American conversational understatement. When someone says, not too bad, it almost always just means, I'm doing perfectly well, everything's fine, but I don't feel the need to shout about it.
So it's actually positive.
It's a relaxed positive. It implies contentment,
Yeah.
a kind of chilled, realistic acceptance of life. It's not this high pressure, I'm absolutely fantastic all the time.
That's such a vital contrast. So you don't have to worry that not too bad sounds negative. It's really a sign of relaxed confidence.
Precisely. And look at the end of that phrase. How about you? Or you can make it even shorter, just you. That immediately throws the conversational ball right back to the other person. You've answered, you've been casual, and you've kept the exchange balanced.
I remember when I was learning, I used to try to be super polite, and I'd say things like, I am very well. And I would just get these strange frozen looks. It was so clear I was being way too formal for just a casual hello.
You've got to keep it casual. You have to keep it simple. If you take away just one thing from this first part, it's that the ultra-formal, non-contracted response is a relic. Your goal is connection, and casual language is the bridge.
Okay, so we have the right casual response now, but we know that even saying I'm good, thanks, can still sometimes just kill the conversation.
It can, yes.
And that brings us to the next absolutely essential layer of mastering small talk.
Yeah.
So we're moving into section 1, the critical power of the tiny detail. And this, I think, is where small talk stops being just a formality and actually becomes a real conversation.
The danger, like you said, is the dead-end answer. If I ask you, how are you? Then you just reply, good. Well, the conversation ball has landed in your hands. You've answered my question.
And then you just dropped it on the floor.
You've dropped it, exactly. Now it's my job to come up with a completely new topic out of thin air, which is hard. Especially if I'm stressed or tired, and that's what creates that awkward silence.
A dead air.
Yeah.
And it makes the person who asked the question feel like, oh, maybe they don't want to talk, or maybe I was being intrusive. It creates tension where there should be connection.
Which brings us to this advanced, but actually really simple tip. And it is always, always add a tiny bit of information to your answer.
This tiny detail is the secret ingredient.
It's everything. It's the difference between a polite silence and a real friendly exchange. Okay, so instead of the dead end, good, you just expand it slightly to, good, just grabbed a coffee, so I'm finally awake.
I love that. That one tiny detail. Just grabbed a coffee. It changes everything. It's so simple.
Because the second you add that detail, you've given the other person a specific, immediate, and super easy topic to talk about. You've handed them a hook.
Right.
The conversation can now continue naturally because they don't have to invent something new.
I really want to lean into this analogy because it's so helpful for remembering. This tiny detail is like throwing them a ball to catch.
That's it.
If you just say good, you stop the game. But if you say good, just grab the coffee, you've caught the ball, you've added a little spin to it, and you've tossed it right back.
And the best part is how low effort that detail can be. It doesn't need to be some profound life story.
Yep.
It just needs to be relevant to your immediate moment. The weather, something you just did, something you're about to do.
Let's really analyze the mechanics of why that coffee detail works so well. Because it offers a bridge with like multiple different paths forward.
The other person can now respond in a bunch of different low-effort ways, and they're all based on the fact that you mentioned coffee.
Okay, so think about the possibilities here. The listener now has, what, maybe 3 main options?
At least. Okay, so option 1 is the specific follow-up. They can ask a question directly about the detail.
Like, oh, what kind of coffee did you get? Or is the new blend here any good?
Exactly. Or option 2, the shared experience. They relate to your detail with their own. They might say, oh, I need to grab one too, I'm exhausted.
Or, I'm on my 2nd cup already.
Right. And then there's option 3, the environment question. They can use your detail to ask about the setting. Is that new coffee place downstairs any good? I haven't tried it yet.
See, look how smoothly that conversation has moved from a stiff formality, how are you, to a real human chat about coffee or being tired or local shops.
And it respects the listener's time and interest because they don't have to strain their brain to invent a subject. That small detail shows you're ready to engage, and it gives them the material to engage back.
This feels like a fundamental shift
Yeah.
from what I called transactional small talk, where you're just exchanging polite noises, to relational small talk, where you're actively trying to connect. But let me ask you this. What if the tiny detail is, boring? Or what if you overshare?
That's a key distinction. The detail has to be simple, easily consumable. You don't want to say, good, I just spent 3 hours on a frustrating call with the tax department about my portfolio.
Right. That's not a tiny detail anymore. That's a conversational burden.
It is. You've just dropped a huge, heavy box in their lap. The details should be about the immediate observable context. The coffee, the weather, the meeting you just left, the funny dog you saw on the way in.
Brevity is key. If you can't state the detail in 5 or 6 words, it's probably too big.
Yes. Let's run through a few more quick scenarios to really make this stick.
Okay.
Scenario 1. You just finished a task. Instead of just, I'm fine.
Try. Pretty good. Glad that meeting is finally over.
And the follow-up is so easy. Oh, was it a long one? What was it about? And boom, the conversation is sustained.
Okay. Scenario 2. Commenting on the weather. Instead of just, not too bad.
Try. Doing well, but I think it's going to rain later.
And the other person says, oh, really? I should probably grab my umbrella. Again, sustained.
And one more, the immediate future. Instead of just, I'm good.
I'm great, actually. I'm heading out for lunch soon. I'm starving.
Follow-up, oh, where are you going? Anywhere good. It just works every single time.
So by using this strategy, you're actually making the conversation easier for the native speaker, which ironically makes you sound more fluent and confident.
Totally. You're showing conversational competence, not just vocabulary knowledge. So, new rule for everyone listening. Never answer a greeting with just 1 or 2 words. Always pair your I'm good, thanks with one single piece of context.
You're moving from just answering a question to actively inviting dialogue.
And that changes the whole feel of the exchange.
Okay, so let's take this idea and move it out of the familiar space, like an office hallway, and into a more challenging setting. Section 2. Strategies for starting conversations in new environments.
The social go-to.
Exactly. So picture this. You're at a party, a networking event, some kind of social gathering where you don't know anyone, or maybe just a few people.
This is the moment of peak anxiety for so many learners, because you feel like you have to come up with some brilliant, witty, impressive opening line.
But the truth, according to the sources, is that the best opening lines are actually the safest ones, the most observational, the easiest for the other person to receive.
And the number one go-to strategy is ask about the environment.
Why is that considered so safe?
Because it's neutral and it's immediate. The environment, the room, the party, the food, the music. It's something you both share right now. Shared context is the fastest way to build a potential connection.
2 perfect examples for this. The first one is, I think, almost universally appropriate for any kind of social gathering.
The absolute classic. So, how do you know the host?
Yes. It's a foundational social starter question in almost every English-speaking culture. It's polite, it's not too personal, and it immediately gives the conversation a direction.
Right. They might say, oh, we went to university together, or I work with her husband, and now you can talk about work. It multiplies the topics.
It's an information multiplier. I like that. And the second example is even lower pressure. It focuses on a shared, immediate experience.
Like, have you tried the food? It's amazing. Or you could say, wow, the music is great, isn't it?
It's so friendly, it's positive, it's about something you're both experiencing right now. If they haven't tried the food, they might ask where it is. Maybe you walk over there together.
And if they have, they can agree and you can chat about what you like. It's a very safe, pleasant interaction. And for an A2B1 speaker, these questions are perfect because they require simple, descriptive answers, not some deep, complex analysis.
Right, you're just building a little bridge based on your shared reality.
And you can also gauge their willingness to talk. If they give you a really short answer like, no, or it's fine, okay, maybe they don't want to chat, and you can politely move on.
Okay, so that's starting the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's navigate a really common cultural trip-up in this kind of environment. The work question.
Ah, yes.
A lot of learners are taught to just ask, what do you do for a living? Is that a good idea?
In a place like the United States, it is very common to ask about someone's job pretty early on. It's a default way people try to, place someone socially.
But there are some big downsides, right?
Mhm.
Which often get ignored when small talk is taught.
Big time. If you ask it too soon, especially at a casual party, it can feel way too direct. It can instantly make the whole chat feel like an interview.
Like you're trying to categorize them or figure out how much money they make.
Exactly. It forces them to define themselves only by their professional title. And what if they hate their job? Or they just got laid off? Or they just had a terrible day at work?
You've immediately introduced this potential discomfort right into the conversation. You've killed the flow.
And this is a gold standard phrase for casual, friendly conversations.
And that is, so what keeps you busy these days?
Yes.
Okay, let's really break this phrase down because it's so much more than just a polite substitute. It's a strategic masterpiece. Why is what keeps you busy these days so much better?
Because it's exponentially more open-ended. It shifts the focus away from professional status, what you get paid to do, and toward what you choose to spend your time and energy on.
It lets the person define themselves however they want in that moment.
Precisely. They get to choose the most interesting or active part of their life to talk about. Maybe they respond by talking about their cool hobby, like training for a marathon or learning to paint.
Or they could talk about volunteering or raising their kids.
Right. And if they love their job and they want to talk about it, they still can. They can say, well, mostly I'm busy with my startup, which is exhausting but really fun. But if they're between jobs, they could say, lately I'm busy learning to play the guitar while I look for a new role.
The difference in the conversation that follows is huge. If you ask, what do you do? And they say, I'm an accountant. Well, now you have to talk about accounting.
Which can be tough. But if you ask what keeps you busy, and they say, I'm busy learning guitar, the conversation is immediately personal and fascinating.
It's about empathy, really.
Yeah.
You're showing respect for the whole person, not just their business card. You minimize the risk of awkwardness while maximizing the potential for a genuine connection.
And for our A2B1 listeners, it's so helpful. It's much easier to follow a conversation about a hobby than one that's full of, technical business jargon.
So that's the takeaway. What keeps you busy these days is your ultimate flexible, gold standard phrase for asking about someone's life in a casual setting.
Absolutely. And of course, whatever they say, you'll need to express interest.
Okay, we've talked about starting conversations, keeping them flowing with details, strategic questions. Now let's pivot to a quick but really persistent grammar error that can just completely derail your message.
Section 3. Avoiding the common grammar trip-up.
We're talking about a rapid-fire mistake that, it's so minor in structure, just a couple of letters, but it completely changes the meaning.
And it's so common for learners. It revolves around those adjectives that describe feelings.
And the mistake is saying, I'm interesting in, when what you mean is, I'm interested in.
And the result can be pretty amusing, but also frustrating for the learner.
So let's break down the difference between the ing ending, like interesting, and the ed ending, like interested.
Okay, so the easiest way to think about it is this. The ing form describes the permanent quality of the thing or the person that causes the feeling. So an exciting movie is exciting. A good book is interesting. It possesses the quality of being interesting.
So if I make the mistake and I say, I am interested in your job, I'm actually describing myself.
Yes. You're saying, I myself have the quality of being fascinating. You're basically announcing that you're a fascinating superstar.
Which, might be true.
It might be, but it's probably not what you mean to say in that moment. You're describing yourself as the source of the fascination.
Okay, so the aided form, interested, that's different.
That is you describing your feeling, your state of mind. It's the emotion you are experiencing because of the fascinating thing.
Ah, okay, so that's the crucial distinction. The aid ending is for the feeling that you have.
Correct. So the right way to say it is always, I'm interested in your job, or I'm interested in that movie. You have the feeling of being interested. The job or the movie has the quality of being interesting.
You are interested. The movie is interesting.
That's it. The person feels the emotion. The thing causes the emotion.
Let's apply this to a couple other common pairs just to make it really stick.
Good idea. Let's take tiredness.
Okay, so you feel tired.
Because the long run you just went on was tiring.
The run has the quality that causes tiredness. You have the feeling. If you say, I am tiring, you're saying you make other people tired.
Exactly. Or how about confusion? That's another big one.
Right. So you feel confused.
Because the instructions for the furniture were confusing.
If you tell someone, I am confusing, you're telling them that you yourself are complicated and hard to understand.
And the simplest one.
Boredom.
You feel bored because the lecture is boring.
And if you say, I am boring, you're saying you're a dull person, which is definitely not what you want to communicate.
So mastering this little distinction is such a quick fix, but it makes your English sound so much more precise. And it all ties back to small talk, because small talk is all about showing interest in other people. So you have to make sure you're phrasing that interest correctly. I am interested in what you have to say.
So we've covered structure, strategy, grammar. Now let's get into what might be the single most important element of all, something that goes beyond vocabulary lists entirely.
Confidence.
Section 4, the confidence booster, moving beyond perfection.
This simple, powerful message that just needs to be repeated over and over again. Don't worry about your accent.
This is such a huge mental hurdle for so many learners. They focus so much energy on trying to perfect the pronunciation of every single sound
that they lose sight of the actual message. Yeah. They lose the flow.
So why shouldn't we worry? Let's emphasize the why.
Because people genuinely care more about what you're saying and the fact that you're trying to connect, not how perfectly you say it. Communication is about transferring meaning. If you get your meaning across, your accent is secondary.
I mean, an accent is just a marker of your story, right? Where you're from, your language journey. It's a cool thing. Focusing too much on eliminating it just creates hesitation and nervousness.
And that hesitation actually makes the conversation less enjoyable for everyone.
But let me push back on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Surely there's a limit, right? If my accent is so strong that the other person can't understand me, doesn't that become a barrier to connection?
That's a fair point. And the key is the distinction between an accent and clarity. The goal isn't to sound like a native speaker. The goal is to be understood. But the sources suggest that if you just prioritize a few simple actions, the listener will meet you halfway.
And what are those simple actions?
Just smile, maintain friendly eye contact, and keep the conversation moving. Focus on the message. The moment you stop mentally correcting every tiny pronunciation error and just lean into the interaction, you become so much more engaging.
Small talk is a bridge to friendship. You don't need perfect English to have friends.
No, you need clear, friendly communication. You overcome the fear of small talk by prioritizing that communication over perfection. A fluent conversationalist is just someone who can keep the ball rolling, not someone who never makes a mistake.
Right. If you make a mistake, who cares? Just let it go and keep talking.
Exactly. So let's bring all of this together, the casual greeting, the tiny detail, the confidence, into a real-time scenario for you, the listener, to practice right now.
This is the Active Listener Challenge, your homework.
Time to build that muscle memory.
Okay, picture this. Imagine we just met at a bus stop. It's a cold day. We're both just standing there waiting. and I decide to start a friendly, low-stakes chat.
Mm.
My opening line is this. Phew, it's freezing today, isn't it?
And just notice the elements there. Phew is a casual filler word. It shows feeling. And isn't it is a tag question, which just invites easy agreement. It's a very soft pitch.
Okay, now the challenge for you listening,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say back? And remember the rules. You can't just say yes.
That's the conversational dead end. You have to apply the principle of the tiny detail. You're going to add a little spin to that ball and toss it back.
So your response needs to be casual, friendly, and contain one little piece of personal context. Let's walk through the 2 perfect model responses.
Okay, model 1. This is agreement plus a personal immediate problem. You could use a great agreement phrase like, tell me about it, and then add your detail.
Tell me about it. I forgot my scarf.
Perfect. Let's analyze that. Tell me about it is a fantastic, casual way to say, I completely agree. And the tiny detail. Forgetting the scarf. Now I have an immediate, clear follow-up. I can say, oh no, are you walking far? You must be freezing.
And boom, conversation sustained, connection made. Okay, model 2, agreement plus a wish for the future.
So you could use another great agreement phrase like, I know, and then you shift the focus to something positive.
I know. I can't wait for summer.
I know is another perfect way to show agreement. And the detail about summer immediately opens up conversations about holidays, travel, favorite activities. You've shifted the mood to something positive, and the conversation just flows from there.
So this homework challenge is the practical application of everything we've talked about today. Casual fillers, and most importantly, adding that one tiny critical detail to keep the conversation rolling.
The practice here isn't about memorizing scripts. It's about changing your mindset. When someone throws you a conversational ball, you need to instinctively know to throw it back with a little something extra on it.
So take a moment. Write down your ideal response to my question. Phew, it's freezing today, isn't it? If you really want to master this, you have to practice these phrases until they become automatic.
And remember, the content doesn't need to be complex. It just needs to be about your present moment. That is the true essence of effective small talk.
So what does this all mean for your next conversation? Let's zoom out and summarize the 3 biggest lessons from this deep dive.
Okay, first and foremost, avoid the robot. Dump the I am fine, thank you, and you. It just shuts down communication.
Replace it with something casual, short, simple. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
Or that confident, relaxed, not too bad. How about you?
Keep it human, keep it contracted. Second, be strategic and be empathetic when you ask about someone's life.
Right. Instead of that high-pressure interview question, what do you do for a living? Use the open, friendly, low-risk alternative.
Yeah.
So what keeps you busy these days?
It's just more personal, more welcoming. And third, and this is the most important, actionable step. Always add a tiny detail.
Always. If you say you're good, add why. Just grabbed a coffee. If you comment on the weather, add a connection. I forgot my scarf.
That is the key mechanism for avoiding that dead air and keeping the conversation flowing.
You've got this. Small talk seems like this big, scary thing, but when you break it down into these simple, actionable steps, you realize it's just a game, a friendly exchange to create comfort.
It's just a bridge to a bigger friendship or a new connection.
So go out there and practice being friendly and open.
That's the only real requirement.
And as we sign off, here's a final provocative thought for you to think about. When you're doing your homework, when you're writing down your response to my bus stop question, don't just stop there. Let's say you chose a response. Tell me about it. I forgot my scarf. Now think one step ahead.
Think critically about where that conversation has to go next. Consider how the person who asked the question is now functionally forced to continue the conversation based only on the detail you provided.
If you say, I forgot my scarf, you have strategically set the topic. The topic is now your physical comfort or your journey. They're probably going to ask you about where you're going.
But if you said, I can't wait for summer, you've strategically set the topic to be about future plans, holidays, positive things.
The real power of small talk isn't just in your response. It's in how your tiny detail can actually steer the conversation.
You can use your tiny detail as a navigational tool to guide the chat toward topics you're comfortable and interested in discussing. Always be thinking one step ahead.
Fantastic stuff. This was Practice English Studio Podcast Edition. Subscribing helps us bring you more episodes.
Keep practicing your English every day.
Grace and Theo.